I need my phone for 1 second.
I'm gonna have to go over there and take this phone call. Don't move.
Frankie! Margot!
Are you all right?
Do you have a phone? My son's been kidnapped! 911!
Okay.
Dead end! What do you mean?
That way's a dead end.
God!
Where are my shells?
Long before the sirens and the screaming, there is Frankie. Home videos catch him learning to walk, blowing out candles, growing into a bright-eyed boy of 6 who turns to the camera and smiles like he already knows the world is safe. In the present, Karla Dyson is that boy's mother, a single mother in New Orleans working double shifts as a waitress at a busy roadside diner while her ex-husband and his lawyers quietly build a case to take Frankie away from her for good. But today is a Sunday, and Sundays belong to the park. At the diner, Frankie sits on the counter kicking his legs and asks if they can finally go. Karla tells him soon, baby, soon. Her boss waves her off and tells her another waitress is on the way in, and she gathers her son and drives him to the playground with the tired gratitude only a working mother understands. At the park, they play Marco Polo the way they always do, her calling his name, his voice ringing back from somewhere behind the trees. Afterwards, she settles onto a bench and lets him play a few feet away, and a stranger beside her strikes up a conversation, asking pleasant questions about her boy. It is the first small thing that will come back to haunt her. Karla walks Frankie over to watch a small park performance and sits him on a bench beside her. And just as they settle in, her phone rings. It is her lawyer. Her ex-husband is filing for full custody of Frankie. Karla steps a few paces away for privacy and leaves Frankie there with his little tape recorder toy, promising herself it will only be a minute. The call escalates. She raises her voice. She turns back toward the bench, and Frankie is gone.
Margot! Are you hiding, Frankie? Margot! Margot!
Only the toy remains where her son had been. Karla begins to run. She calls out to strangers. She shouts, Marco, the way she always does when they play, waiting for that little voice to call back Polo. No voice answers. She rushes toward the parking lot with a mother's animal panic climbing up her throat, and that is when she sees it, Frankie, screaming, being forced into the back of a green Ford Mustang by a woman she has never seen before, a man behind the wheel waiting. Karla runs. She throws herself onto the side of the moving car and hangs on until momentum rips her free, sending her tumbling across the asphalt with her phone spilling out of her bag somewhere behind her. By the time she scrambles into her red SUV, the Mustang is already a distant shape at the far end of the lot. What follows is not a car chase. It is a mother refusing to accept the world's most obvious ending. Karla pursues the Mustang onto the open highway, weaving through traffic with both hands white-knuckled on the wheel. At a red light, she throws her car into park and sprints to the Mustang, pounding on the tinted glass, screaming for her son back, screaming at strangers in the cars beside her to call the police. Not one window rolls down. Not one door opens. The light turns green, the Mustang lurches forward, and Karla is back inside her car chasing them onto the freeway. The kidnappers try to shake her by taking a hard, last-second exit. Karla slams the brakes and reverses across the shoulder to follow, and behind her, cars crash. She hears the screech of metal but keeps her eyes forward. She has no phone. She has no way to call anyone. So she pulls up beside another driver, screaming through the window, begging them to call 911 and telling them her son has been taken. By now, the woman in the Mustang has climbed into the back seat and is hurling anything she can find out the window to slow Karla down. A toolbox comes hurtling across the asphalt. Karla swerves. A tire follows. She swerves again. An SUV behind her is not as lucky and cartwheels into the ditch. On the radio, a news broadcast is already crackling to life, describing a chain of highway collisions and a high-speed pursuit. Somewhere behind her, police sirens are finally moving, but when the cruisers close in, they pull over the wrong vehicle entirely, and Karla listens to it happen on her own radio. The kidnappers know she is still there, and they play the only card left. The Mustang slows just enough for Karla to see the woman lift Frankie into view, a knife pressed to her son's small throat.
Don't hurt him! I promise I'm gonna be back.
Karla brakes. The Mustang disappears around the bend, and Karla forces her car onto a service road and loops back around through the fields to find them again. She grips Frankie's little tape recorder, and when she presses play to hear his voice, what plays back instead is a conversation between her son and the woman who took him. The woman calls herself Margot. She tells Frankie that his mommy is waiting for him in the parking lot. She takes his hand. She leads him away. Karla listens to the whole thing, and something in her face changes. Down the road, she spots a police officer on a motorcycle and starts driving recklessly to catch his attention. She rolls her window down, screaming that her son is in that green Mustang, and the officer swings around to pursue. But the kidnappers are watching too. They box the motorcycle between the two vehicles and grind him into a spin. Karla watches in the rear view as the officer's bike goes down hard and does not get up. The Mustang finally rolls to a stop on an open stretch of country road, and the man behind the wheel, a hard-faced man named Terry, steps out with a knife and starts walking toward her. Karla throws the car into reverse, then in one unbroken second of clarity, throws it back into drive and floors it straight at him. He stops. He listens. She rolls the window down and hurls her wallet at his feet, telling him the PIN, telling him she has $10,000 in the bank, telling him he can have every cent if he gives her son back and disappears. She promises she will never say a word. Terry takes the wallet and walks back to the Mustang, and a Frankie's little voice calls for her from inside. A moment later, Margot climbs out holding the wallet and comes to Karla's window with an offer of her own. Margot will ride with Karla to the bank. Terry will keep Frankie in the Mustang until the money changes hands. And if Karla refuses, Margot tells her, her partner would rather kill them both than take the money at all. Karla stares at the woman who took her son. Then she unlocks the door.
Follow him.
The two cars pull back onto the road, one behind the other. Margot lounges in the passenger seat like they are already accomplices. And for the first time all afternoon, Karla lets herself go still because Margot has just made the worst mistake of her life. As they enter a long, dim tunnel, Margot lunges for the wheel. Karla is ready. She grabs Margot's hair with one hand and drives with the other, throwing her weight against her attacker. And by the time they burst out into daylight on the other side, Karla has pried the passenger door open and shoved Margot out onto the pavement at full speed. In the rear view, Margot is bleeding on the asphalt but still moving. Karla stops long enough to pull Margot's shirt over her own. If Terry looks in his mirror and sees a familiar silhouette in the driver's seat behind him, maybe she can stay on his tail long enough to get her son back. For a few miles, it works. Then Terry glances over his shoulder, his face shifts, and Karla knows he has seen her. What he does next is the reason she will never let Frankie out of her sight again. Terry hangs her son out the window of the moving Mustang, dangling him over the racing asphalt by one arm. Karla brakes. The Mustang disappears down the road, and a mother who has spent the last hour chasing evil finally lets herself scream. She pulls over at a small fishing pier and honks until the men on the dock look up, describes the car, begs them to call 911. Then she is back on the road, driving on instinct, and when she sees a plume of smoke rising off a distant highway, she turns toward it without thinking. The Mustang is flipped in the ditch, crushed and empty. A shaken driver on the shoulder tells her that a man and a small boy walked away from the wreck and disappeared down a side road. Karla drives to the nearest police station and slams through the doors. Inside, she pours the whole nightmare out to a startled desk officer, the Mustang, Terry, Margot, the tunnel, the tape recorder. He tells her they will have units in the area within the hour. Karla feels the word hour hit her like a slap. Frankie will be dead by then. As she waits, she calls her ex-husband and gets his voicemail. And as she leaves the message, she looks up at the wall and sees the missing children's posters, dozens of them, all in a row. Some of the smiles belong to children who will never come home. And Karla understands in a single terrible instant that if she waits for the system, her son becomes just another face on that wall. She walks out of the station. She gets back in her SUV. She keeps driving. What is a mother supposed to do when the men who took her son are still out there, and the law is measuring its response in hours? A few streets later, Karla spots Terry's jacket balled on top of a trash can in a black car pulling out of a parking lot at speed. She goes after it. She rams it. Terry does not stop. He speeds up and plows through a woman crossing the street, leaving her broken on the asphalt behind him. Karla stops, throws her own car in the path of an oncoming vehicle to keep the woman from being run over a second time, and takes the impact herself. Her head snaps against the wheel. Her vision blurs. But Terry is still driving, and so is she. She catches him again on a lonely 2-lane road. Her fuel light is on. She sees Terry lifting Frankie toward the window again, and she starts ramming his car with everything her engine has left. Her tank finally runs dry. She jumps out and runs on foot until she loses him. A truck driver pulls up beside her, and before she can even finish her plea, Terry's car comes screaming out of nowhere and slams into the truck, sending it tumbling into a ditch. Karla comes to in the wreck with blood in her hair and the driver unconscious beside her. She climbs down and walks toward Terry's ruined car. He is slumped over the wheel, but when she gets close, his eyes snap open and a shotgun swings up. She dives behind her own vehicle. He follows. He wrenches the door open. And Karla, with the last of her strength, seizes his arm through the window, yanks the handbrake, and lets the car roll downhill with Terry's body dragging alongside it until it slams into a tree at the bottom of the slope. Terry is dead. Frankie is not in the car, but Terry's ID is, and so is his address. Some debts the law cannot collect. Some scales only a mother can balance. By the time Karla reaches the house, night has fallen and the property sits back among the trees at the end of a long dirt road. She slips inside. Somewhere in the kitchen she can hear Margot on the phone with a man she calls the middleman, negotiating a price on a small boy.
Care of the problem. You are just the middleman, or you get nothing.
When Margot walks out to the shed behind the house, Karla grabs the landline and dials 911, whispering the address, whispering everything. But Margot hears the click of the receiver from outside and comes storming back in with a shotgun of her own. She calls out for Terry. When no answer comes, her expression hardens and she starts hunting. Karla makes it out to the shed. She hears Frankie's voice above her, coming from an attic hatch padlocked from the outside. She tells him to be brave and starts tearing at the boards. And when a small hole opens up, she sees not one child in that attic, but 3.
Lift your legs up, Frankie.
I say you wait right there.
Legs back up in that hole, Frankie, right now.
Two little girls stare down at her, wide-eyed and silent. Karla promises she will come back for them. Then she pulls Frankie down into her arms and runs. Margot unleashes a hunting dog that comes tearing across the yard behind them. Karla and Frankie plunge into a nearby pond and sink beneath the surface, holding their breath as the beam of Margot's flashlight sweeps the water. When Margot wades in with the shotgun leveled, Karla comes up out of the dark and drags her under. Margot fights. Margot claws. Margot goes still. Karla carries Frankie back to the shed to finish what she started. But as she reaches for the trapped girls, a man steps into the doorway with a pistol pointed at her chest, calling himself a neighbor, telling her he is here to help. Karla plays along. She lets him think she trusts him, and then, as he glances up at the attic, he lets slip a detail about the girls upstairs that he could not possibly know. This is not a neighbor. This is the middleman on the other end of Margot's phone call, come to collect his product in person. Before he can lift a second weapon, Karla swings a shovel across his skull and drops him where he stands.
Took the wrong kid.
Oh, sweet.
Outside, the first of the sirens finally begin to bloom in the distance. The film closes on a news broadcast. A reporter stands in front of the property with cameras behind her, describing a single mother from New Orleans who chased her son's kidnappers for miles, exposed a hidden trafficking house, and single-handedly dismantled the local end of an international child kidnapping ring.